welcome back to the Northern Strength Fitness Podcast. My name is Brandon, and today we are joined by Stewart. Hi, Stewart. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on tonight.
You betcha. Welcome. So, Stewart is going to be sharing a lot of stuff about training and hopefully inspiring a lot of young people, or basically, I shouldn't say just young people, pretty much anyone of any age, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely of any age. Actually, my initial goal was more to inspire people that are in their 50s, 60s, and older to use powerlifting and other forms of training to improve not only their health and their longevity.
Well, there you go. See, and I already fucked it up. So we're just a few minutes in, and I was like, inspire young people, but he wants to reach out to everybody, especially you, because you're not a young chicken anymore. You're still strong as a young chicken, so we'll get into that. So Stewart's going to be talking about his training. He is new into powerlifting despite starting at a later age in life, and hopefully you guys, if you're listening, whether you're young or you're old, you'll get a lot of inspiration and a lot of knowledge from Stewart. He's got a lot to share tonight. So we'll dive into some stuff here. But if you're new to the podcast, I'm going to talk quickly here. We are a brand new podcast. We talk about fitness as kind of like the main theme, but we talk about community, personal growth, mental health, all those kind of things that can help you live a better life. So if you're interested in that, we got other episodes. We have other guests. Definitely encourage you to subscribe and share the podcast. If you guys want to say hi to Stewart, if you're one of his friends, family members that are listening, definitely give him a comment on YouTube. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to let Stewart introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, because some people might be listening and they might be like, okay, before I get into listening who the Stewart guy is, let me just know who he is. So tell us a little about who you are, where you grew up. Give us a little background story.
Okay. I'm 54 years old. I've lived in Tisdale now since 2010, so 13 years. I grew up in the Edmonton and Drayton Valley area.
Did not know that. I'm learning something new.
Yeah. Lived the area most of my life, actually, from the time I was 13.
Okay.
And then when I married, I moved out here. I've got a wonderful wife and a couple of stepdaughters that no longer live in town, but they're still a big part of the area. And I've always been or had some sort of passion for fitness. Yeah. Right. I've always done something. It might not be consistently, but I've always done something. I've done some running. I've done just general overall weightlifting and bodybuilding.
Yeah, just trying to keep active and look after yourself a little bit, right? Test the waters here and there.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, I was working with a couple of fellows that were competitive powerlifters.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't mind trying that. However, I didn't. I kind of lost track of the two guys. Yeah. But I still always had that interest in the back of my mind.
Just kind of snagged you a little bit. Hey, they're just like, okay, let it sit there for you for a second.
True. And then about 4 years ago, I started training more in a powerlifting style. Yeah. Doing lots of 5 sets of fives, Bulgarian style training, just generally heavier type.
Yeah. With the goal to be able to lift more weight like quickly. I guess I don't know how to put it. Basically you're trying to train to pick heavier shit up.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago I decided, or 2.5 years ago, I decided, what the hell, I'm going to get a coach. And I'm going to go for it.
There you go. Yes.
And within 9 months of that, I competed 3 times.
I know. And that's a lot of competitions within a short period of time for someone who just got into it. So I was just like, when I was like watching, like, oh, I'm in this competition. And then like a few months later, oh, I'm registering for this competition. And it's like, oh, you go, man, you go. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It is a lot. Generally, 2 competitions a year is about the most anybody goes for. Yeah. 3 in 9 months is a lot.
Yes. Well, especially if you're going to get serious, because you want to train to perform probably for those 2 competitions a year, right? You could probably do multiple, but it depends on what your goals are, I would assume. Like, I would think if you were just going for just a fun meet, you can kind of work it in. Maybe not lift like near your PRs, but just that's for a fun lift kind of thing.
But usually by the time you're done your meet, between training and prepping for that meet and then doing the competition, your body is wrecked. Your body is quite sore.
It's like, give me a break. I just picked up this much weight, and I only weigh this much weight. Just give me a little bit of rest, please.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And you generally want to have a month or 2 to just let your body heal up and for all the aches and pains to start to dissipate before you start training heavily again, right?
Yeah. Well, and I like the word, like, so you use the word training. So this is kind of like the, there's a lot of like ways people are going to attack a gym in a sense, right? You can test the waters, you dip your toe in, right? Or you can just work out, or you can train. And when you're training and you have a specific goal and a specific mind, there's a lot of stuff you can put in there that's very scientifically based off of who you are, based off of all the new research or even old research, right? So when you're training and you're training to output your maximum amount of lift in a certain time at a certain date in a certain event, your body's like prepped for that. And then once you do it, it probably needs some rest after that. And that's the whole sense of training versus, not saying that working out is bad, but working out helps you, right? If you're in the establishment of just working out, that's good. But that's the difference between maybe the training, you have a goal, and then you have like your workouts where it's like the goal is just to work out, which is still a good thing, gets you healthy and stuff.
Yeah, that's correct. Like as far as I feel, training is something I do with an end goal in mind.
Yeah.
Whereas working out is more casual for me.
Yeah. And casual for working out, I guess it's not to downgrade anyone that's working out. Like, it's better than nothing, right? But when you're training for a specific competition, there's a lot of stuff you got to keep in mind, and a lot of stuff you got to learn, and all those types of things. But I was curious when we were backtracking to like you introducing yourself. So you have a work routine plus your training, and he's doing awesome in his competitions, by the way. So we'll get into some numbers that you can lift later on. But give the people that are listening a little bit of because I know people have a lot of excuses sometimes. I even wear the shirt sometimes. I don't have it on today, but it's called No Excuses, eh? And it's lots of people come with excuses as why they can't train. And I know you have a very sporadic yet somewhat consistent lifestyle where training isn't always as easy for you. But can you tell us a little bit about your lifestyle and how work, family, and training kind of all, how you make that work for people? Give us a little insight on that.
So the job I have now and the job I've done for basically the last 30 years has been in industrial construction. So I have to travel to where the job is. And generally that job is 2 weeks on, 1 week off with a good amount of training or travel in it, right? So when where I'm at now is out in Kitimat. I have to leave basically almost the day prior to my flight. Yeah. And then catch the flight the next day, work 14 days, stay in a camp, fly home. It had been, again, on my travel day home, an 8 to 10 hour drive from my flight center, stay in a hotel overnight.
Yeah.
And then drive back home. So my travel days usually start at 4 a.m., work till noon, get on a plane, fly to Edmonton, drive to Saskatoon. So it would be a 22-hour day.
Yeah. See, and that's what I knew this about you, and I was like, because I get lots of people, I'm not saying like everyone has to be a hardcore Stewart, but Stewart, like, he's an animal. He'll come in. He'll be like, I just flew in. I drove. I pulled on and I had a little nap. And he'll come in and fucking train. And he'll be like, I want to go to the gym kind of thing. So, I mean, that's awesome. And he's got this 2-week-in kind of lifestyle. And then he comes back. He signs up for the gym. And he comes in here. He crushes weights. But then he also has stuff that you do at home, too. Like, you do lots of yard work and stuff. You make all the time for the family and stuff. So he's balancing it all, but it's probably not an easy balance, but you're making it work.
No, it is. It's a really hard balance. When I'm home, obviously my wife wants to spend as much time with me as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm either up if I'm training on weekends, I have to be up before she gets up, not to take any time away from her. So I'm usually up at 6 at the gym during the week. As soon as she goes to work, I go to train. I come back home, and then anything that I've been putting off for the 2 weeks prior, yard work is a big part of it, because I'm kind of proud of my yard, and get that done.
There you go. Yeah, and it's like you got to manage your schedule, right? But I just like that you're with the amount of time you have to give for your fitness, plus the amount of time you have to give for your family and your yard and your work and it's not easy. I look at you and I'm just like, wow, like, good job, man. Good job. So I just wanted you to share kind of lifestyle. So people that are thinking, oh, like, I'm sitting there scrolling my social media for an hour every night. It's like, well, that hour you're sitting there scrolling through those freaking social medias, that could have been a 45-minute amazing workout. And you're saying that you don't have time to go get fit. So I just wanted people to understand that there's people like you out there that are doing it. And it's not easy, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible.
No, and a big part of it is having a goal in mind. Right. So you make the time to do what you need to do to accomplish that goal.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's for me, the big one is training, and then being able to eat enough.
Oh, the food. Okay. Well, we got 2 things I'm going to ask you about now that you've mentioned that. We got a goal and we got the food. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's talk about the goal.
Okay, let's talk about the goal, and then we'll talk about how he's fueling himself for this goal. Okay, so we did have a podcast, or I say me. I had a podcast on, like, goal tips and the importance of setting goals and how that helps you see a target and hit a target. And if you don't know what the target looks like, how the fuck are you going to hit that target, basically, right? So I'm curious what your goals are, and then kind of your strategy of attack for that.
Well, currently, my biggest goal right now is to be able to compete not only internationally, but in a world championship.
Yeah.
Because of the length of time that I've been training, I'm not kidding myself that I'd be able to do well, but I just want to be able to compete.
Yeah.
Right. Experience that.
Well, and I guess just to backtrack, to doing well doesn't mean what lots of people think. I think you to do an international competition, to anyone who knows you and knows your story, and hopefully we'll get into that here in a bit, I would imagine that is doing more than well, Stewart. So,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So anyway, so you want to compete internationally. Continue on.
So this spring I competed in a competition in Alberta. The competition, I was able to get a high enough total that I actually qualified to compete in the International Powerlifting Federation North American Championships. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to go this year.
Yeah.
But that's still my goal, is to compete in that competition.
Yeah.
And then from there, do at least one world championships.
Wow. There you go. And then the worlds bounce around, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they this year they are in London, and I'm not sure where they're at next year, but even the North Americans this year are in Niagara Falls, New York. And that is the last weekend of October this year coming up.
Gotcha. So if you don't mind me asking, what was your total? For those that don't know totals, you can tell your total, and you could break it down in your 3 lifts and explain the sport a little bit for people that are kind of curious into this.
Okay, so powerlifting, you do the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. Your heaviest lift on each of those three exercises is your total.
Yeah.
Right. So you generally start up lighter and work up heavier on each lift, and then get your final total. My total last year was just over 1,100 pounds, which is not bad for my age and the length of time I've been competing.
Yeah, for sure.
My squat, currently I hold the Saskatchewan provincial records for the Canadian Powerlifting League. My squat was 473 pounds. My bench is 297 pounds, and my deadlift is 555 pounds.
There you go. Yeah, that's amazing. So I'll kind of condense what you just said. But basically, you get 3 lifts. You get a squat, a bench, a deadlift. Your best lift out of all 3 of those counts to your total, and his was around 1,100.
Yeah.
And I tried a regulation bench press once. I did terrible. You have to like pause at the bottom, and then you have to like press. Like there's these commands that I didn't understand when I opened the gym, and I was glad that like someone like Danielle introduced me to this, because I don't know, like people that are benching a lot in the gym or do lots of reps bounce it off their chest sometimes, right? You guys have like specific rules in powerlifting. It's like, okay, yeah, you got to wait for these commands, you got to wait for these things, you got to do all this stuff. So it's for a little more, and even the equipment you guys got to use, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Like all the equipment that we use, as far as that is used in the competition, is very regulated. The weights are calibrated to within grams.
Yes.
So they know the exact weight of they know that weight is
Specifically.
specific.
Because my plates at the gym might fluctuate a half a pound or a pound. When you're going for world records or Saskatchewan records, they want to know you're actually lifting what you're lifting, kind of thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Benches have to be conform to a certain size, thickness. Your bars have to be a certain width, certain diameter.
Yeah.
Even right down to the underwear we wear.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either. I was just like, oh, fuck, so I can't wear a man thong? I don't know. Is that regulated? I don't know.
You could get away with a man thong, but you can't wear basically briefs.
Yeah, anything that's going to compress and give you a slight advantage, right? So man thongs allowed.
You're good with a man thong.
Yes, I'm going.
Yeah, you're also good with going without anything.
All natural. What is it? Commando? Is that the way?
You can go commando.
Commando.
If you want.
All right. So there you guys go. If you guys want to compete, might be worth it to invest in a man thong or commando. If you're a lady, then you do your thing.
Yeah. However, if you do split your singlet on your squat, you're
Oh gosh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that might be a little interesting.
It has happened.
Oh gosh, not to scare you guys away. Very rare, I'm sure. Cool. So you got a lot to talk about. So you got to the point where you got some goals now. You joined Northern Strength Fitness. I met you earlier, but because you work away a lot and come in, we get to see each other just briefly. But you've kind of established, from what I understand, like a lifting family almost, and some coaches that have helped you along the way, which I know a lot of people are hesitant to invest into a coach and also don't understand the importance of community and the people you surround yourselves with, because they can get you to places you never even realize is possible if you surround yourself with the right people. And that's the thing I'm trying to build at the gym. It's like, get yourself around the right people. And I always appreciate you shouting out, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of like talk about the people that have helped you get from where you started to where you are now to eventually, which I'm sure we'll get to see you in some of your bigger goals in the future. So feel free to tell us a little bit about all that.
So probably the best thing I ever did, as far as investment into my training, was to get a coach. I'm on my second coach now. My first coach was down in the States, and it just didn't seem to go so well for me. So my current coach is a fellow by the name of Larry McEwen out of Leduc. His Instagram handle is Big Cat 10.
Big Cat.
Big Cat 10, and he's probably one of the top powerlifting coaches in Western Canada. He has helped me grow, not just physically, but taught me a lot of skills along in the lifts. A quarter of an inch in a certain way on your squat could mean the difference between squatting 800 pounds or blowing your back out.
Yeah.
And the team I'm with, his team is probably one of the top teams in Western Canada. There's 7 or 8 of us, or 7 or 8 on the team that squat and deadlift over 750 pounds and bench over 400 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it.
I like the word yet because that means you're working towards it, and that's the importance of having those goals you were talking about. So working towards it, right? And you never know until you put the energy into it.
Yeah, correct. And if at my age, if I can hit those numbers, those are world records.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, and the team that I'm with, not just the team, but a lot of the people I've met in the sport have been amazing. Everybody is super supportive, right? You might not know the person the day of the competition, but let me tell you, by the time the competition's over, you've got a pretty good personal, you really have built up a pretty good respect for the person, and you would see that person on the street 10 years from now, and you'd still be able to call them your friend.
Yeah. I'd imagine it's kind of like, I don't know, in like that sense. Actually, I'll segue into this a little bit because I know you had a little Viking sense in that, but almost like that respect in the battle kind of thing, right? You're both there to compete. You both know what it took to get you there. And because of that, you're both like-minded in certain ways, right? So you can respect and understand, and you're there to do your best, but you also understand they're there to do the best. And if you're in like that respectful sportsmanship, it's like, okay, you bring your best because I'm bringing my best. And we're going to find out who the best of us is, kind of thing. And that's the beauty of sport.
Correct. And everybody knows that everybody that competes in the sport, they know that you're competing against yourself, number one, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a raw rookie first competition or if you're in your 15th, right? Everybody knows you're pushing your numbers as high as you possibly can.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And then when you can compete against yourself and you can see improvement, you start to probably dial in more about what can I do for me and not what can I do to beat them, right? And then all of a sudden, hypothetically, all of a sudden you are beating them because you are invested so much into you, and then you're inspiring them to even push themselves. So you're almost like feeding other people's like will to push and do better by you doing better. And I try to like highlight that in another podcast, be like, when you are growing as an individual, the people around you start to see that growth and get inspired by it, right? And it's not greedy to try to grow in life and hit these goals and do these things. It's like, hey, I am in this growth mindset. Watch out for me. I'm going to grow. But at the same time, here's what I'm doing. I'm willing to help you. Let's grow together, kind of thing.
Yeah, correct. The sport is really supportive, right? All the athletes and competitors are very supportive of each other. I haven't met one person that is negative or down on another person when they compete.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's good. I know some of the sports aren't always like that, and it's nice to hear that there are sports out there. A lot of people don't even think about weightlifting or powerlifting as a sport of option, and I was glad to bring Northern Strength Fitness to the community just to kind of start to get people to think about that stuff. So speaking of which, you joined us a few years ago, and since then, he's been in here. I don't even know how many workouts you're at now, but if you were to kind of like give us like a little bit of what would you say would be some of your things you enjoy coming back to the hometown gym for?
Probably for me, the biggest thing is just coming back to see the few friends that
Yeah.
I've made. I really love seeing the younger guys that are coming in the gym in
Perfect.
the afternoon.
Yeah.
I love talking with them. There's a lot of good young athletes that are coming into our gym or coming into the gym. I don't always get a chance to talk to them, but when I do, I try to be supportive and very positive. Try to give them a little personal coaching and maybe some inspiration on my side as well.
Well, the inspiration that's why I was like, I was hoping you were going to mention it because if you weren't going to mention it, I was going to mention it because most of the people that see you in the gym know, because I put you on social media sporadically, you tag us and that, so they know who you are. But I appreciate when you come back and you can just inspire those people, right? And they get to see you and like, oh, there's that guy that was lifting heavy, and there's that guy, right? So when you come back here, you're like a little mini gym local celebrity, and I like that about it. So I hope you appreciate being able to give your experiences to everyone in the gym. So that's what I was hoping you were going to say. And you just said it, so good job.
Oh, I definitely do. When I'm home, besides my home, it's probably one of my favorite places to be is to be in that gym.
Appreciate it. I'm trying to give that nice environment, so that means a lot. So thank you.
Right. So the atmosphere there has always been amazing. Right. It's very. I've found it always very casual, very friendly.
Yeah.
Everybody is super nice.
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed going.
Well, I try to tell people, like, I had a few people be like, yeah, man, like, the gym's all great because of you. Awesome job. Like, it's not because of me. It's because of people like you that make, like, I can only do so much, right? It's up to you to carry on and build the atmosphere you are. So if you're in a gym and the atmosphere isn't what you want it to be, then don't blame necessarily the people around you. Look at how you can do that. Like, I'm not a big, like, blamer in my life. I don't know if you are or not, but it's like, if there's something that's not right or that you think you can improve upon, then don't just sit there and judge. Be like, okay, well, if you're not willing to make the change, why should they make the change, right? So in my gym environment, same thing. It's like, I want a good environment. Hopefully I'm inspiring other people and them around them want a good environment. And when you come in, you give that good environment. So
Exactly. I love one of the things I really have noticed in the last few years about myself is you spot somebody new that's in the gym I can spot them that they're uncomfortable. They're not, maybe they've been there a week or even less first workout. And I like to go up and talk to them. I like to see what they've been, why they're at the gym, what their goals are, what they're working towards. And I always like to make sure that I let them know that they've probably taken the hardest step they've ever going to do in the gym, and that's come down the first time. And keep coming, because I'll always be there to chat and support if I'm around and you've got questions.
no, that's awesome. I just got little goosebumps there. You telling me that? It's like, oh man, that's awesome. We need more people like that in the gym, and it's not even just my gym, but gyms around the world, right? Because the mental health benefits you get from it is phenomenal, right? So, and then the physical benefits are obviously the ones that people look at first, but the mental health is just like when you can like put yourself around people that are willing to do this stuff and watch out for you, and you learn your community, you're all working towards these amazing goals. It's hard to explain, but it's just, I don't know where else, other than maybe a sport. I get sports too. You get that camaraderie, but maybe there's some workplaces that also have that same camaraderie. But as far as like the physicality, which releases all the endorphins and chemicals in your body, it's a hard thing to replicate in life.
It is. It can also be a very foreign place for a lot of people if they haven't done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's very difficult when it's your first time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ever have somebody say, "Oh, look at that guy, that asshole." I never want to go back because of him, because he was treated me mean or. Yeah,
for sure. Right. Or no. And that's, it's a boundary that obviously me as a gym owner is working on, because we got a decent amount of members in the community, which I'm sure you know about, but there's also a decent amount of our community that probably would benefit immensely from coming to the gym, but it's trying to figure out ways to break their nerves or their suspense from joining, right? And it's not an easy barrier to break, because if it was, it would problem solved. Everyone would be fit and healthy and working out and working towards these goals. But that initial step, which is what I liked about what you said earlier, like the hardest thing is taking that first step. And when you take that first step into that unknown world, hopefully you're surrounded by support, by love, by people that are going to encourage you, which is what Stewart does for people that is in the gym, and I've seen him do it before, right? And he continues to do it even when I know I'm not around. He's doing it. So that's the thing that I like about the gym and the community that we're building here. So I think that first step is important, very difficult, important, but you don't know until you try.
No, you don't. And yeah, it's like I said, I always want to be, or I had a coach that was smart enough to ask me why I want to do this and why I want to take this journey of the training that I'm doing. And I said, well, it is to inspire people. It is to get people into the gym. It is to have them do some work on themselves, their fitness, their health. Longevity is a big one.
Yeah.
Encourage younger guys to get into the sport.
Yeah.
Right? So I enjoy it. I enjoy coming in.
No, and I enjoy that. Again, you caught me at the start. It's like, it's not just for the young, it's for everybody. And I just enjoy it and go all these things. But I know you haven't been without your adversity, which we all have. So I wanted to touch base on this. You were recently diagnosed with some conditions, which kind of put a pause on a lot of the training, but you've found your ways around it, and I'm working with it. So if you've been paying attention and you're with us still, I'm going to let Stewart kind of give us the details. But despite like all the stuff you just heard about, there's still walls you're going to have to hurdle and establish, and a maze you're going to have to navigate. It's possible, right? It's just a matter of whether or not you have the right mindset as to being, why are you here? And if you have those deeper goals, like he just mentioned, inspiring people, right? I want to encourage all these younger people. I want to show people what's possible. You can do it. But I'll let Stewart kind of talk a little bit about what his background is with some of his medical conditions that he's working with right now. So if you want to dive into that, that'd be amazing for our audience.
So just over a year ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called myositis, and myositis attacks the strength in your limbs is the first one, which is obviously not conducive to being
like
a good power lifter.
Pretty much the worst one almost.
Yeah, it's about as bad as it gets as far as a competitive power lifter gets. It also attacks because your heart and lungs have some muscle issues. Attacks your heart. It can cause issues with swallowing. There is no cure.
Yeah.
There's a treatment that can get you into remission. Left untreated, though, within about 10 years, the average person is using a walker at best.
Yeah.
Right. You're bedridden. You're in a lot of pain. Difficulty swallowing. About 25% of the people that have it get lung cancer or some other form of lung condition where eventually the problems with your lungs will get you before the disease.
Oh.
Right. So there are people that die from it, but not directly.
Yeah. So it's like a byproduct of conditions, because I'm assuming the lungs and the contractions and the way the muscles. I don't know much about it. This is why I was curious about it, but
basically it destroys the internal structure of your lungs.
Yeah.
I'm still learning a lot about it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've been lucky, very lucky. I had a doctor that was quite very, I get almost forceful to the point of making sure that, I mean, that any issues that she spotted were taken care of, right? She wouldn't let me like just sit down and, oh, your blood work numbers are a little high. Well, she was wanting to know why.
Yeah.
Right. So she pushed, and after a lot of different testing, blood tests, going to a neurologist, a rheumatologist, CAT scans, lung function tests, I was diagnosed with the myositis.
Yeah. And then that was how many years ago? Or
It was about this time last year.
was it only a year ago? Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're within a year, yet you've still competed and done all these things you said without being treated. So like for people that maybe are even listening, because I'll try to tag like, how do I say it?
Myositis.
So I'll try to tag it in there so that way people might get the notification. But like, can you tell us about what you've done to kind of help yourself out? What kind of, what helps you be able to do the things that you're able to do still?
I think a lot of it was the fact that I've already carried a little bit more muscle mass than most people. I do spend a lot of time with my rheumatologist and my neurologist. I'm very closely monitored as far as blood work. It's, as uncomfortable it is to talk about, the biggest indicator is what's called your muscle enzyme levels, and mine were 700 to 800% higher than normal.
Okay.
So which meant that my body, somewhere along the lines, that was there was an inflammation somewhere in my body.
Yeah.
Right. So they figured that out. Right now I'm on 2 different types of medications. One is methotrexate, which is used for chemotherapy, and the other one is prednisone, which is a corticosteroid. They're both pretty harsh right now. It's like one of those issues where the cure is almost worse than the disease. Very tired all the time is the big one. However, the good news is my last blood test yesterday, my inflammation markers, my muscle enzymes were as low as they've been in 7 years. So since before my diagnosis.
Wow.
So it is coming around.
Yeah.
Things are looking up, but it doesn't mean that the checkups and the visits with the doctors are going to end.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a matter of monitoring and making sure that a lot of my diet is going to have to be changed. I'm just learning a lot about my diets. One of the things they want me to do is look towards more of a carnivore or paleo type diet where it's more red meat.
Yeah.
Cut out a lot of things like nightshade vegetables, right? So cut out potatoes, cut out tomatoes, no peppers, which really is a bad one for me because I love hot peppers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of that is going to have to be eliminated, or at least
Let's test it out and see what the effects are, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine the protein would be a big thing, especially if your muscles are the things that are going to be like deteriorating, and that just my assumption based off of, okay, your muscles need protein to continue to function.
I think a lot, and as I'm learning more about it, I think a lot of it is how that vegetable or that what you're taking in is affecting your whole immune system.
Okay.
Right. For example, processed oils are horrible for anybody with an autoimmune condition.
Yeah.
Right. That should be one of the first things you look at eliminating out of your diet,
Yeah.
and see how your body reacts with that.
Fair enough.
And then it's just one thing at a time. Is basically they want to see how your body reacts.
Yeah. Well, and that's I know, not that I'm a certified nutritionist on that medical level, right? But I know kind of the realm of the world that they work in, and they got a lot of science to work off of, but a lot of it's individual, and you don't know till you test, try out, see the effects, and they're not like gonna know for sure until they go. So
No.
that general lifestyle change. But when it comes to like your health and your goals and stuff, and you have those anchors, right? You got a family, you got your work, you got your goals and ambitions. It probably makes it a lot easier for you to go into that sense, versus if you were just Joe Schmo sitting on the couch and be like, whatever. I'm gonna continue to eat my potato chips and my peppers and my this and that. But
Oh, I like my potato chips, but it's hard hard to stay away from 'em. However, I've discussed with my doctor actually yesterday about consulting with the dietitian and working on my diet.
yeah,
The hardest thing for me right now with my diet is the fact that I work in a construction camp and have no control over the food they cook. Right. So I'm hoping that the camp will work with me on coming up with something that they can make individually for me. But when you're feeding between 4,000 and 5,000 people, one person, it's really hard for them to do a specific diet for one person.
yeah, that would be. It's not an easy system to crack into, especially when they're not used to certain like I've never heard of it before, obviously, and so it's just like, there's not that many people that have it, and then the more science there is into putting into those kind of things, the more we understand, and hopefully the more we can learn as a society. Be like, okay, here's the things we got to do, here's the things we got to be prepared for, so that way, even with you sharing your story today, right? Who knows who is listening and is inspired and be like, hey, you know what? I got that. I'm gonna get a head curve on it. I'm gonna look at all these things in my life. So that's awesome with you coming on the show tonight. I just really appreciate you sharing everything. And I know it's not always easy to talk about like personal stuff like that, but I'm sure, and I understand from you, it may inspire or motivate someone to either flip that switch and take that healthy change, or look at what they're doing in life and be like, hey, if Stewart can do it and he's got all these things going on, then I don't have no excuses. So,
well, as far as autoimmune conditions, as science has moved on, and as people have been working with them and doing research, it's become quite, I don't want to say evident, but it's started to become very noticeable that diet makes a huge difference.
yeah.
Right. Not just the amount of food you eat, but exactly what you eat and what you put into your body makes a huge difference in how your body reacts.
Yeah.
A friend of mine has, by changing his diet, completely reversed his Crohn's disease.
Yeah, nutrition's crazy when you can dial in and like figure what the heck's going into your body. And it sucks because we're in like North America, which is like one of the most obese populations ever. And we got such easy access to those damn delicious potato chips, right? And it's like, well, the more you think of your body, I explained this to some people in the gym the other day. We had a free friends a couple weeks. I don't know, I think you were working then, but it was like, hey, bring your friends in. We'll get them an introduction. Doesn't cost them anything. Let's bring them in. Like, show them what it's about. And then we had I do these 6 a.m. workout classes, and some people were bringing in friends. And I said, I got this from someone else, but I used it on them because, let's face it, everything we learn is from somewhere else. So I didn't feel bad about sharing it. But I said, imagine your body's like a car, and you only have one car to drive for the rest of your life. Think about how well you would treat that car. You would give it the best paint jobs, you would make sure it's clean, you'd make sure you drive it nice and safe, you'd still have some fun with it, but you put in the best fuel, you'd make sure you check your oil, because if you lose that car, you're done. You don't get no more cars forever, and it's kind of how you view your body, right? So your body is that one vehicle you get from start to finish, and depending on how you treat it is going to depend on how well you can utilize it throughout your life. So for people to treat their bodies well and to push it, because if you can push it the right amount, you're going to get a better car. You can upgrade your car from, let's say, a Ford Focus, which I used to drive, which was a fun car, don't get me wrong, but you can upgrade it to whatever kind of dream car you want, if you're willing to be methodical and do that. And if you only get the one car, which you can somehow upgrade magically, right? But still, if you wreck that car, you're screwed. That's kind of a nice way to look at it. Like, hey, I got the potential to upgrade it, but if I damage it to the point of unusability with your body, you're screwed. You're screwed. And it's just look after yourself, right?
Actually, that's a great way of looking at it, right? I've never thought about it that way, but it is. It's a perfect way of looking at it. All right, like you take care of it, or you lose it.
Yeah, and if you only get the one vehicle for your whole life, and you want to turn it into a Ferrari and keep it there, hey, there you go, right? And if you wreck it, you wreck it. And everything you do is going to damage it. It's going to tear it away. And if you all of a sudden get to the point where it's unusable, where you're basically a little shit show in the garage that can barely pull away from your house, unfortunately, that's due to the choices that you made along the way. And I think people that are going to listen to the podcast today, whether it's recently or in the future, hopefully they get a lot of the stuff from you to be like, hey, you know what? It's not too old to start. And despite the obstacles that you might face, it's still not too late to continue to battle through that, because you got that little Viking battle blood in you. So no, I think people are going to really enjoy that. You got anything like to kind of wrap it up here for?
Yeah, no, it is never too late to start. I see people getting into powerlifting because it is my sport. I see them in their 70s, 80s, still competing in their 90s even.
Yeah.
There is a fellow by the name of Rudy Catalub who is in his 70s now. He's one of the he holds most of the current world records for his age. I just want to be able to step on the same stage and compete with him because he's an amazing individual. He's 70 years old and he still runs one of the top strength and fitness companies in North America.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to shake his hand and step on that stage with him.
Yeah. Well, and then to flip this on you, if you work at that goal, here's my little, I want people to look back at this and be like, I want to be able to shake Stewart's hand one day, which is, I think, a great goal for you to set for yourself, but also that whole goal of inspiring people like, hey, you know what? I see what Stewart's done, and now I want to go compete with him on that stage and shake his hand. Because if you keep working on the way you're doing, you keep the mindset, and you surround yourself with the positive people, I don't see why you can't inspire people just like that person inspired you. So just wanted to end with that note and say thanks for coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure, and hope we can get you back on the podcast in a few months, and we'll get to see how you're doing and follow up from there.
I'd love to. I'm looking at right now at the end of October, the last weekend of October, there's a competition in Regina. Mm-hmm. So basically at this point, I'm just going back and forth with between my coaches and my doctors, and will likely compete in Regina at the end of the end of October at Adrenaline Strength in Regina.
Perfect.
And then from there, we'll see how my health holds out, and hopefully be able to do another Canadian Championships and a North American Championships coming up.
There you go. So if people want to follow you and your story, where can they find you on the socials?
For myself, really, the only socials I use is Instagram.
Yep.
My Instagram is the old _dog 68.
Yeah, I'll put it in the YouTube description and stuff. So you guys want to, I'll link them in there for you guys. But he's the old dog, but he's not done fighting yet. He's got some bark in him.
Yeah, you bet.
Cool.
You bet.
So yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming on tonight. Again, if you guys enjoy watching the podcast show and you guys want to see more guests like Stewart on, definitely subscribe, follow, like, and then leave some comments for Stewart. I'm sure he'll love to see them. Share the story, but I'll leave you guys off with saying that it's not too late to get started training. And even if you've fallen off that wagon, don't be scared to chase it down. Jump back on, because it'll be worth it in the end. But yeah, thanks again, Stewart. Been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Have a good time, everybody. We'll see you next one.